So, in addition to that, and speaking of WWE, it apparently is official, all right, that King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring will take place on May 27th in Saudi Arabia. I wanted to know your thoughts and impressions on this. The fact that we're getting the return of the, I think it was also possibly labeled the Queen's Crown. So, how do you feel that the Queen's Crown and King of the Ring are returning officially as a pay per view and in Saudi Arabia?
I always like the King of the Ring pay per view and now Queen of the Ring. Well, maybe I don't know if I like how they booked the queens because they kind of botched that opportunity, in my opinion. But
Mm,
I like it because again, it's another opportunity to build new stars, and it puts in another exciting pay per view. You know, because you have the big ones, you have SummerSlam, WrestleMania, you have Royal Rumble, and I don't think Survivor Series has delivered in quite some time. So I think it'd be interesting to have, you know, the
mm-hmm.
King of the Ring, because it's something where it's just like a total surprise. You don't know who's going to get that opportunity. But the thing is that and then that's what I love about tournaments. Tournaments are like a great way to get people who've been sitting in catering, not really getting much TV time because you don't know what to
Mm,
do with them. It's
right.
very nice to just like throw them into the ring because it's not too much promo going on for something like that. It kind of writes itself. You guys are all fighting for the same thing. It's just a matter of who's a heel and who's a babyface going into this tournament. So it
Mm-hmm.
makes fans kind of look at them from a different perspective and try to fall in love with like their wrestling ability, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
how the Mae Young Classic worked. We didn't really know these faces too well, but we got a little brief on them, and we just knew they were all fighting for the same thing. So you just
Mm-hmm.
fell in love with like whatever personality you saw in the ring. I love that very much about the King and Queen of the Ring. I just don't like too much their execution on what they do with the people after they win it. Because,
Mm.
for example, with Zelina, I loved her presentation, but what has she really accomplished in between? I mean, I know she won the tag team title belts at some point, but it felt to me very forgettable.
Mm.
And I love me Selena Vega, you know what I mean? Especially because she represents New York. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
Queens.
when it came to her, she word. But I just feel like it if you don't utilize the talents properly when they win it, it devalues the tournament. And that tournament used to be very prestigious. Prestigious, sorry. It built up a lot of stars in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my biggest thing. I'm not opposed to them bringing it back, but please like make great use of it and actually turn those people into stars by the end of it. Make it so
Mm-hmm.
that like they're not just walking around with a shawl and a staff and the crown just because. Do something with it for the love of God, you
Right.
know. So that's my one thing. And then you commented about it being in Saudi Arabia. I'm not opposed to it. I think that's actually a nice spot to choose. I know a lot of people are so opposed to them working with the Saudi people, but I think that if there's one crowd that's going to appreciate a King of the Ring, I feel like it would be that demographic.
Mm. Yeah.
So I think that the location is actually kind of perfect. And it would add something a little spicy to a Saudi show. Because they usually have the same typical formula where they kind of they rely more so on old timers and just random money making matches to just get ratings going. I feel like that's a really good thing to do because when it comes to Saudi with the Saudi audience, I feel as though they watch wrestling with a different set of eyes than in America. In America, we're all like fucking marks. But I feel like over there, I'm not saying that their standards are lower because it's not the case. It's just that it takes less to it takes less for them to have a good time because they kind of watch wrestling in a very black and white view.
Mm.
That's the face. We're gonna cheer for that face. We like that guy. We don't like that guy. That's the heel. We're gonna boo that guy. They just have a good time. So they're gonna be an easy crowd. So I feel like please with the King of the Ring and Queen of the
Very
Ring.
true.
Does that make any sense?
It makes
Like
100%
they're
sense.
not gonna like think about it. Yeah, I feel like when if we were to be in the states, we're just gonna sit there and judge the fuck out of it, and then we're gonna like pre-predict by the end of it. Oh yeah, it's gonna go towards that person. Whereas over there, they're not really thinking about all that much. They're just there for a good time to watch a show and be in the moment. Like they're
Mm.
marks in their own way, but they're like not as intense as we are. So I think that's like such that's actually like the smartest location to choose. But what do you think about either or?
to build on top of what you were saying, they're easier audience to please because they don't get WWE events like that. You know what I mean? Like we have it
Yeah.
so good in the states in the sense that hold on, give me 1 second. Yeah, we have it so good in the states in the sense that like WWE is on the road 300 days a year. 80% of the time they're in the states. They're East Coast, South, Midwest, West Coast. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like that for the majority of the year. But when we talk about international events, this is an audience that doesn't get access to WWE the way that the audience in the states does. You know what I'm saying? And because of that, they're going to be easier to impress because they're just grateful that WWE is doing an event of any magnitude in in Saudi Arabia. Now, what basically based on what you were saying as far as like um the location, it does make sense. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring. I think that it's something different. It's
Yeah.
fresh. It's something new. Definitely a play on words, and it's clever. Um, Now, as it pertains to the significance of the weight, I agree. Right, this whole like not liking what happens after the tournament, like you put a sash or a crown on somebody, and then that's their gimmick and that's their thing. But the gimmick shouldn't be the payoff, right? Like you said with Zelina, like yes, she won the tag titles, but it did still didn't feel like it had a lot of weight. I still think that they should do what they used to do with King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring, and that is that whoever wins the tournament gets a shot at their title at the world title at SummerSlam. That's how Brock Lesnar went about it. I think that's how it was going down. Like prior to 2002, you win that tournament, you're going to get a world title shot. And I think that that gives a significant amount of weight to that tournament. You know what I mean? And so I think that that's just like the only big thing. And I think I've said that before with King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring, you just have to incentivize these tournaments or else people aren't going to be interested. Um, Now I'm going to throw a wrench
Yeah, I
into
totally agree.
I'm going to throw a wrench into this.
Ooh,
This year, who do
yes,
you
yes,
want to
yes,
be
yes.
King of the Ring and who do you want to be Queen of the Ring?
That's so hard because, like, I don't really have favorites that are on the main roster at the moment like that. I mean, Montez would be great. I would never say no to Montez,
Mm,
you know? Because if you put Montez, it's not going to sacrifice the group. Like, you can still do something. You can still put them together. You can make them even more annoying in a fun way because he's walking around with a king robe and a staff. Like,
right.
I feel like he would make the most out of that gimmick and make it just fun. Like, you don't have to be a condescending, heel like the way Booker T was. You could have fun with it. Like, you really could make the King of the Ring gimmick whatever you want it to be. And I could see him, you know how he walks around with the cup? He'll
Mm-hmm.
have what do you call those fancy cups that kings walk around with?
The
Like
chalice.
he could be
The
holding that.
chalice.
He could be walking around with that bedazzled. You know how Bianca does the bedazzling for
Mm-hmm.
the cups that they hold. He
Mm-hmm.
could be having a bedazzled. I'd be with it. I'd be so with it.
That actually sounds tough.
And
I didn't
let's
even think of that.
right. Yeah, I just be coming up with things. And like also, we haven't seen
Bucket.
someone that was like word bucket Triple H. But yeah, um, and when's the last time you seen someone that won the King of the Ring that was in a tag team?
Mm,
Have we had that before?
I don't think we have.
You could do something.
And on top of that, that's a great way to turn Montez heel if that's the way that y'all want to go. It's a great way to have Montez and Angelo Dawkins in the final, and then have one turn on the other or one win in a dirty way. That would be tough. That would be tough. I agree. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. Actually, good on me. I just came up with that on the fly,
Good on
but
Ma.
now I'm
Good on
rolling with
Mario.
it. Word. Um, as far as the females go, like I said, the females on the main roster don't move me as much as the females on the NXT roster. That's
Mm.
just me personally.
Ooh.
So I feel like if you want to make it fun, call up some names. Call up some names because, again, not everyone that watches Monday and Friday night watch Tuesday. And what better way to bring someone up besides the Royal Rumble, since you guys missed that opportunity, right? Than to introduce them into a tournament. Because when you go into a tournament, you kind of have little to no expectations unless there was a former champion in there.
Mm-hmm.
You pretty much go in there with little to no expectations. So that's, I feel like, a brilliant way to bring people up because they might fall in love with what's her name? Soul Roka. I know she just
Yeah,
started, so she's not going
she's
anywhere.
big down
But
there.
like,
Yeah,
word, but you could bring her up. Or people like Roxanne. I know that she's holding the belt over there and she's doing what she's doing. But like, let's just say they wanted to, just because you can still technically bring that gimmick down there if you wanted to. If you wanted to,
mm,
but I doubt it. But if you were gonna call her up and call up people that already like kind of spent some time in NXT and like they could kind of like go now. Like I would like to see Lash Legend. I actually am a fan of Lash Legend. I think she's fun. I love her personality. A little reality gimmick is pretty like cool to me.
yeah.
I would love to see people like Jakar called up. I would love to see geez, what was the name of that girl that I fell in love with during
Kiana James. Kiana James.
the yes, I would love to see her. She would eat that tournament up.
She would.
Like that's what I feel like they should do. They should just call up a couple of names, mix it with the main roster girls, and not make it so predictable. Because to be honest, if you throw in people like Liv Morgan, Natty, Carmella, and stuff like that, it's gonna be just an eyebrow roller. I mean, it'd be nice
Right.
to just see what they're made of. Because Natty's kind of that person that you go to when you want to have a good match. But I don't want to see too many of the main girls. I don't think they need it. I don't think it's going to elevate them or it's going to lower them. They just need to work with what they got. And since they didn't do too well with building up those women, since we got the champions that we have going now, I want to see like a new and interesting feud. So nothing would be more new and interesting than to call the NXT star, have one of them win the Queen of the Ring, and then maybe set that up where down the line they can make a beeline towards one of the champions. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's been a minute since I've seen like a female feud, like championship feud on the main roster that I thought was new, refreshing, fun. Like that's like a money match to me.
Right.
So that's just what I personally think. But do you have any particular picks for the men and the women?
So I really like the ideas of Montez Ford being a King of the Ring. As far as the Queen of the Ring, I don't have anybody in particular in mind. I guess I'm not like super picky because to be honest, right now, I maybe it's just because of the whole Mercedes thing. I just haven't really found anyone outside of their champions to be interesting. I think the only exception is like Rhea, but like I'm pretty sure that Rhea is gonna like be champion by then. By the time that tournament rolls around, I think she's going to be champion, and I don't think that they're going to
She
give
don't
it
need
to
it.
so she don't need it, but I'm thinking because while I think somebody would from NXT would be a good surprise. Yeah, I think somebody from NXT. I think that Roxanne should be the Queen of the Ring. I think that if I feel like when I look at like the women that I would probably have on the main roster that would probably win Queen of the Ring, I'm thinking like Bailey. I'm thinking like somebody else in Damage Control. But I feel like there's a bigger story there pertaining to them and potentially another faction or another group. And I feel like either one of them being Queen of the Ring would kind of deter them away from that story. And I feel like Roxanne would just be a pleasant surprise. You know what I mean? And so I would be for that. I think a good surprise is in for the Queen of the Ring. So I want to go for Roxanne. But I want to know how y'all guys feel about Queen of the Ring, King of the Ring, in Saudi Arabia, May 27th. But we're gonna